What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for listening. I wanted to put this in the top of the show. Make sure you subscribe on Patreon, patreon.com/Brennan Tassif. Check out the merch store at brennantcomedy.com to get your ex-drinking buddy merch. Subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. As always, we're coming to you live from Gotham Production Studios, and I hope you enjoy the episode.
Grab me a beer and grab me a coke. We bout to sit for an hour, bullshit and tell jokes. And please don't mix it up, cause he done sobered up. Brennan T Comedy on your social media feeds. And Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. I am your host, Brennan Tassif. If you're new to the program, quick rundown of the show. I used to be everyone's favorite drinking buddy. It was my favorite thing to do, hang out with friends, get drunk, do drugs, get in all sorts of trouble, and then reminisce about those crazy old days. I am sober now, but that is still one of my favorite things to do, hang out with someone and reminisce about the good old days. Most weeks I will be joined by a guest. This week is no exception. All the way from New York City, Dylan Krasinski.
Yeah, I love that, dude.
What's up, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Before we get too far into the episode, plug everything up front. I know you've got your podcast that I've been on, social media, the whole deal. Let everyone know where they can find you.
Dude. We should start doing it in the beginning, too.
Ryan Sickler. I learned it from Ryan Sickler. Very funny LA comic. You always plug everything up front and then at the end.
I love that. Well, at Dylan Krasinski on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, all that kind of stuff. And I have a podcast called Troublemakers. It's out every single Wednesday. I do it with another comedian, Ray Zawadney.
Friend of the show?
Similar to this, where we tell just comics come on, they tell their craziest stories, whether it's getting arrested, traveling, drinking, drugs, or whatever.
It's a big party.
Dating, whatever.
Yeah.
No limitations. So, yeah.
Yeah, I went on there to promote the one-man show, out now on patreon.com/Brennan Tassif. We had a good time.
Oh, yeah, we did.
It's always fun when because no one in New York, knock on wood, has seen me drunk since I've been sober for 5 years. So it's always fun to go on those podcasts and then they go, wait, what'd you do? It's like, yeah, I put my head through a guy's window because he was flirting with my sister. And you're like, wait.
Dude, you had
the fun-loving, like,
stories,
hey, guys, like trying to murder people. It's like, yeah, well, I got sober for a reason, you know?
Dude, that was the football party story is one of the funniest stories I've ever heard.
Yeah.
I was just like...
It's my favorite one to tell, and I told it on stage as like my big closer for the longest time.
Yeah.
And then I had another comic come, unsolicited advice, come up to me and go, hey, maybe you should ditch that story. Or no, she said, one day you're going to stop doing that story. And I was like, that's impossible. I love the story. And then she goes, well, people are laughing mostly because they're nervous. And I think we talked about this on your podcast, and I was just like, no, it's because it's funny. And then the more I did it, I was more in tune to looking for that. And I was like, fuck, she's right. They are laughing because they're nervous.
Yeah. Don't you love that when a comic comes over and gives you a nice piece of unsolicited advice?
And then they're right about it, and you're like, God damn it.
In the moment, you're like, hey, why don't you fuck off? Thanks.
Don't be a huge fan.
We've never had a conversation. Why don't you go fuck off?
I find myself doing that because I still, even now, I still go to a ton of open mics because I feel so free to not, when you do shows, it's like I have to kill or I might not get invited back, even at like clubs around here. So I still love going to open mics because it's like, oh, I can do whatever the fuck I want. Like if I have a joke where I'm like, oh, this isn't, like I have a joke about my ex and we were talking about like the porn thing and the whole thing. And I was like, oh, well, if I do this at a regular show, it could come off as like a He-Man woman hater kind of a thing.
Yeah, what's wrong with that? You know?
So like I just do it at mics and doing it and being so free to do it, I've been like, oh, I can actually tweak this to make it a good joke.
Yeah.
Whereas like comics, especially at like my level, you don't have any room for error. If you do a show at a club and you don't crush, they're like, yeah, get back to the open, like we'll see in a couple years, and you're like, wait, no, this is my shot.
Yeah. That has been another plug is 7th Street Comedy. I've been running that with
awesome.
two of my buddies. That's been running for about
77.
It's 95 East 7th.
Okay,
it's right next to 7th Street Burger in the East Village. Shows every Friday and Saturday, 8:30 and 10.
Beautiful.
But that has been I've always run my own show since starting comedy. Like I came up in Boston where there was just nothing. There was one club.
Let's get into it.
Are we jumping in?
Yeah. So tell everybody, getting into comedy, because for the listeners, you are a lawyer? We're
Yeah.
a lawyer?
Yeah, so I'm still a lawyer. I do it less.
It's like a Marine. They can't take it away from you.
Yeah, it's it's in your blood. You drink the water at a law school and you're forever a lawyer.
Yeah, absolutely. So how did you even get into, because I want to go back eventually, talk about like growing up, going to law school, all that, because we talked about it on your show, but I was poised to go to law school, took the LSAT, did the whole deal, and then just didn't go.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for you though, how did you even get into stand-up?
I started stand up right after. You know what? I did like two like
Open
mics
Yeah.
in law school, and
So did you
liked it a lot, but I just never. It was really once I graduated, I started working for the DA's office as a prosecutor. And that's when I started doing stand up.
Okay.
Hard.
So how did you even find stand up as, because I've had a lot of guests on and we've had the same conversation, which is how did you even find stand up? It is such a niche thing.
Yeah.
And I know that just from being in it for so long and then also working at the restaurant when people ask, oh, why did you just move to New York? And I go, comedy. And they go, oh, who's your favorite comic? And I'll say someone like, Bill Burr. And they go, oh, I don't know him. I go, well, if you don't know Bill Burr, then you don't know like what?
Yeah.
They're like, what about like Dave Chappelle? And I go, everybody knows Dave Chappelle.
Or they'll be like, what about Joan Rivers? It's like, yeah, okay, sure.
Steve Martin.
Have you heard of Kathy Griffin? And you're like, yeah, I have.
I have.
Thank
actually.
you.
Yes, thank you.
I went on a date once with a girl, and she said her favorite comedian, stand-up comic, was Kathy Griffin. And I said, well, she doesn't really do stand-up. And I go, she's not a stand-up comedian. Which she doesn't. She's on the, that show.
Yeah.
That date lasted a total of 20 minutes.
Really?
She literally, I said, well, she doesn't do stand-up, really. In a nice way. I said it. I go, hey,
you want like that dumb broad doesn't know what she's doing?
I go, well, because she was like, and then she said something like, well, I bet you just only like male comedians. And I was such an asshole. I was like, no, I like this comedian and that comedian. And I just had to rattle off.
You had to validate.
Yeah.
It is interesting when people like, especially the way I look, people, and being from Florida, people just assume I'm like a fucking hell yeah, good old boy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, actually, at one point, I had a few comics on in a row on the show, and Drew Tessier, who's been on front of the show, runs a bunch of awesome mics around here, and then he started the Queer New York Comedy Festival. He goes, hey, Brennan, your show's getting a little gay. Because I had like 3 or 4, LGBTQ plus comics in a row, and he goes, yeah, it's getting a little gay. And I was like, well, if Drew's saying that, then...
Well, I appreciate that you saved me for June.
So how did you even find stand-up?
How does anybody? I mean, I was a fan growing up.
Yeah.
I just loved stand-up.
But that's what I wanted to, that's what I mean, because I just want to get specific. Because I found it, because my cousin, when I was 12, he loved Comedy Central Presents, and he introduced me to it.
Yeah.
And then I started recording them on VHS, and I would watch them like a million times in a row. Mitch Hedberg, Tom Rhodes, like back in the day, Adam Ferrara. And then I was just like, oh, I love this, but I could never do it. Because I would watch like Mitch Hedberg and I go, this is hilarious, but like I don't, that's not me. And then I saw Dane Cook do his, and I go, oh, I want to do that, where he rips his shirt off and pours the water. And I was like, fucking that. And from then on, I was like, that's what I want to do. And I know a lot of people talk shit, but to his credit, I messaged him back on like the MySpace days. Always messaged me back.
Really?
Yeah.
That's why I've heard that about him.
To this day, I'll be like, hey man, just saw this. That's awesome. And he'll be like, thanks, Brennan. Like, I really appreciate it. And I don't know if it's him. I assume it is because he always says that's how he got his
now
following.
Especially, I think it's him. What else is he doing?
But it's just one of those things where that kind of opened the door for me. So do you remember like when you were like, oh, I want to try this? Like, do you remember the moment?
Yeah. So it's actually a weird
let
moment,
know.
I feel like. But yeah, I loved it. Same. Comedy Central Presents. For me, it was the guy I really connected with. I love Daniel Tosh.
Yeah.
Then like before Tosh.0, when he had like that old Comedy Central Presents.
Yeah,
I
think that was the first thing before everything took off.
And then like Nate Bargatze too, like early. I don't know if you ever saw it. He did this like special.
Is that the one where he wears the Puma shell necklace?
Maybe, and it's like a green or an orange backdrop.
Yeah, and he doesn't have a beard.
And it's just so good. And I remember I watched that like 20 times.
Yeah.
That was probably when I was in like college. But
I
remember
also think that's a big difference between people who like comedy and people who are like in it.
Yeah.
It's like music where like I find this all the time. People go, oh yeah, I saw that special one time. And I'm like, oh, you don't Like the nuances, the little, like there's some jokes you miss or even watch. I watch specials like over and over, even to this day. Like some comics are always like, you still go to like shows? And I go, yeah, man, I fucking love it.
Yeah.
Even if I've heard a joke a million times, I'm still like, that's fucking hilarious.
It is, it is true.
So I didn't mean to interrupt, but I think that's interesting. You said you watched it like 20 times because, again, there's people where they're like, oh, I love comedy. I saw the Sticks and Stones by Dave Chappelle like 10 years ago. And I'm like, that's not loving comedy.
Yeah, loving is being obsessed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember I remember I guess the first time I was like really into it. Dane Cook also. Yeah. Got obsessed with Dane Cook because I was high school. You know, it was like he was like our guy.
Was it going around your high school like it was at mine? People would burn CDs and like pass them out. And
I'm
stuff?
34.
Yeah,
so
I just turned 35.
Yeah, so it was like the height.
It was Wildfire, man.
I remember
Swallowed was a huge deal.
It was so good. And he's at Madison Square Garden. He was like the first, I mean, maybe since like Eddie Murphy, the first like comedy rock star.
Yeah.
Like he made
and
it
he had
cool.
bits about it where he said, I remember in the Comedy Central Presents, he's like, he had a rock band set up behind him.
Yeah.
And he always said, like, I always wanted to be a rock star. Just like walk out and be like, no, 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 no.
So great.
And he became that as a comic.
Yeah. So I remember in high school, I was in a public speaking class, like senior year, one of those like fuck off classes, you know?
Yeah.
It was so fun. All my friends are in it.
Elective, yeah.
And we had to do a speech at the end of the semester. And everyone's doing like JFK, Abraham Lincoln. And I asked my teacher, and she was very cool. And she was like, yeah, you could do it. And I did Who Shit on the Coats.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I literally just did
the
bit. And it was so cool, so fun. I guess technically that's like...
shit on the coats.
It's the first time I did stand-up, basically. It's just
awesome.
ripping off Dane Cook. And I think I got an A. I don't remember.
Yeah, that's a great bit.
Of course. I got an A in the class. It's who doesn't? And then, I started it when I was in law school. I remember since then, it was something I always wanted to do. But it's like, I don't know. Can I get on stage? That whole thing.
Yeah. Well, and also you have like this whole thing in your life, which can relate to. And I assume you went through the same thing where it's like, oh, if I want to be a lawyer, like there's certain things I have to do.
Yeah.
Like the first DUI I got, I was like, oh, I don't think this is going to happen. As far as, because you know this because we talked and the listeners know, but I've been arrested 8 times. And the first couple, you're like, oh, my life is over. And then after a while, you just kind of get used to it. And you're just like, yeah, let's go. Come on, guys. Book it. Let's go. Come on.
Let's move along.
Yeah, move it along. So for you do the Dane thing and then you go into law school. Where did you go for undergrad?
Siena College.
Okay. And
it's
then where did you
in Albany, and then I went to Suffolk Law School in Boston.
Okay. And then, you said you started in Boston. So what are you, 26 when you're starting?
I was,
starting?
I think the first time I did it, I was probably like 24 maybe.
Okay.
And then I started when I was like 25.
Okay.
That was after I graduated. But I remember being in law school, and it was something I wanted to do. And I remember law school, you sit in these classes of like 100 people.
Yeah.
And you get like cold called. So you get grilled. They'll, have a case, and the Socratic method. So it'll be like, whatever the case name. Okay, what's the, what are the facts? What's the holding? And they just call you, and you got to recite this and analyze
the case notes and everything
in front of 100 people. And I remember being like,
to be honest, in the pre-law society, that was my favorite part.
It's not
because as someone
once you get used to it, it's fun.
Because I used to just be like, I'm gonna fucking school these cats, man.
Yeah. But it is intimidating when you first start, right? 100 people, everyone thinks they're the smartest person there.
Yeah.
So
everyone starts sounding like JFK.
Exactly, dude.
Especially in Suffolk.
I remember after that, oh, dude. So many just like hard Boston people.
Yeah. You like fucking apples?
Yeah, how about these apples?
And
you're like, all right, dude, let's be a little professional. Dude, I've never sound
just ripping heaters with their fucking jacket over their shoulder.
Yeah.
It's not your
over
fault.
The shoulder.
It's not your fault. It's not your fault. Everyone's
the amount of
Good Will Hunting
intellectuals in Boston who sound like absolute idiots is out of control. It should be illegal.
I think about it all the time because we get some very high profile celebrities that come into my restaurant, and I'm like, oh, you're a trash person. Like, how are you this successful? You are a trash
let's go down to Quincy and burn down the trailer.
Like, we have people come in and they're just like, hey, Long Island iced tea. And I'm like, garbage people drink that. And then someone will be like, do you know what that is? And I'm like, damn it.
That's so funny. But yeah, so when I was in law school, I was like, if I can talk intelligently about the law in front of 100 people, I could definitely be funny in front of
for sure
20 people in a bar.
Yeah.
So I then went and found this open mic and did the open mic, did it a couple times, and then
So I want to bring it full circle. You said
Yeah.
you started your own show in Boston because there was only a couple of rooms.
yeah.
So we'll bring it back to that. So when did you decide, like, oh, I want to start my own thing and I want to, like, really do this?
I was about a year in,
Okay.
and a buddy of mine, shout out my friend Chris Nakis.
What's up, Chris Nakis?
He moved across to the West Coast, and he ran this open mic at this bar called The Hideout. And it was this little room, but it sat about 100 people.
Oh, that's
very
a
cool.
lot. For
And-
everyone listening, open mics are normally in rooms that, like, seat 50 max.
Yeah, it was this long, like, train car room,
Yeah.
and the stage was at the end. And I remember after we took it over, we moved it, and I was like, dude, we should seat it like the Cellar does, put the stage in the middle of the room, and it changed. It became the best room in Boston for a while. Yeah. So, but it was a classic. I remember my buddy Alex, we ran it together for a year, and I was like, oh, we should start an open mic here so we get to know everybody.
So you ran it as a show?
Yeah.
And then decided to start
So
an open
no,
mic.
I originally was like, we should run this as an open mic so we could meet everybody. And he goes,
So when you took over the room, you were like, let's do it as an open mic.
yeah. And he goes, why would we do that? We should just run it as a show. And it was such a perspective change for me because at that time in Boston, there was one club. Really, it was like 2 clubs and then 1 bar show and all open mics.
Okay.
And it was like open mics were like the cool thing.
Yeah.
It was like being
Oh, wow,
funny in
that's
front
cool.
of other comics was
Yeah.
the thing to do.
So in Boston at the time, because like we said, we're about the same age. In Boston at this time, 10 years ago, is it just comics going to the open mics? Because Boston's a
Basically,
big scene.
yeah,
Okay,
basically.
Because I was going to say, in smaller scenes, a lot of the open mics are actual shows because they're consistent, and so people know where to go, and you don't have to pay as much as if you go to a club or a theater.
Dude, no, this was like 50 comics would go,
Fuck
and
yeah.
it sucks.
The worst.
Sucks.
Love it.
So
When
like
you can crush at an open mic, you're like, I'm the most famous person ever.
that's true, dude.
None of it translates to a regular
No.
show because we're all dark and twisted.
Yeah.
But like the Scar story at an open mic, people are like, fuck yeah.
You get a standing
dude.
applause. Yeah, you get a standing ovation, dude.
And then I tell it at a show and people are like, he's going to murder all of us.
Yeah, I hate open mics, dude. They're the fucking horrible.
It's weird.
I also my comedy is not dark as much, so it does not connect
doesn't
at
play,
open
yeah,
mics,
yeah.
and it just
It's like
bombs,
regular,
dude.
it's like good comedy.
Yeah, and I hate it. I hate it so much.
My favorite thing is when, and this is going to sound like shade, but it's just it's something that not only humbles the other person, but keeps perspective for me.
Yeah.
When bigger comics who are passed at like bigger clubs, for some reason, stumble into an open mic, like whether they're in the area at the time or what, or they're just like, hey, I got this new bit that I want to work on. Not like huge comics because they can do whatever they want at the clubs, but like comics like that are probably like would say one level above our level. You know, like they're passed at a bunch of clubs and stuff, one level above my level. And they'll do like their like, hey, host in the stand kind of jokes.
Yeah.
And at a mic, people are like, get the
Bombing.
fuck out of
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Like, what is this? And I'm like, yeah, that's right, man. You got to come with some fucking flamethrowers. You want to play? You want to play in this yard?
It's the fucking worst.
But then you go see them at a show and they murder. And you
Oh,
go,
yeah, yeah.
I've
You're like,
I've never done that at a club.
Fuck.
That happened to me with. I mean, obviously, completely off topic, but I remember I was talking to Shane Gillis one time at the 10-year anniversary of the Stand. We were downstairs and we were talking football because he's a big Notre Dame fan, and Notre Dame lost to Marshall that year. And I remember because I played for FAU, go Owls, and we always lose to Marshall in Conference USA. And I was like, hey, Shane, tough loss, man. Like, FAU always loses to Marshall, so I know how you feel. And he's like, what the fuck are we talking about? Like, what are you talking about? But I remember in that moment, I go, we're like the same guy. We both played college football, me longer than him, but we're both like, like we're this, we could be the same dude. And then he went up and just destroyed. And I go, oh, we're not the same guy at all.
Speaking of specials that I've rewatched, I will say I'm a little different now where I'll give a special 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me to watch a whole one. Live in Austin is one I've watched.
One of my favorites.
15 times.
Yeah. Love
it's
it.
the only special that I've watched repeatedly. And it's so good.
Have you seen him lately?
No, I'm really excited to see this
I run
new
in. I don't.
hour.
Yeah, I try to catch him whenever he's at the Stand or anything, and it's so good.
It's crazy.
And I started doing that Trump. I don't know if you saw the clip TJ put up, but I started doing because he was so good at that Trump impression. I started doing it, and people are like, "That's a fucking horrible." And I'm like, I Gotta get it there, man.
Dude, impressions just become impressions of
impressions
the impression
of
the impression.
So I want to get back. You started the show, and then you were like, oh, we'll do it as a show. And what do you mean by your perspective shifted? Like, you were like, oh, we can just run a show?
Well, because, I had this idea of, you know what it was? It was like, oh, we can just be bigger. Yeah. And we don't have to just do what everyone else is doing. We can do a better thing. Yeah. And I was like, oh, dude, it was just a perspective switch.
Absolutely.
So we started charging money. We charged like $10 a ticket when everybody else was charging $5 a ticket. Yeah. And I was like, well, we'll just make our show better. Yeah. And I'm a year into comedy. I don't know what I'm doing.
But you knew the mechanics behind it. Something given has no value. So even when I do, like, I tell people all the time when they're starting their own show, they're like, oh, I'll do it for free. I go, don't do that. Make it $2, $5. Because what happens is if people don't pay, they're not going to respect or give a shit about what's going on stage. Yeah. But if they pay, even if it's $2, they still paid money to be there. So then it turns into this whole thing. It's like I go to the Frantic show every Monday at the Stand Shout Out because it's a free show. And I like a lot of times after work, I'll get off around like 9:30, 10, and then I work right next to the stand. So then I'll say hi to Joe, the manager, and I'll walk downstairs and I'll be like, yeah, if there's room, you can sit. And that's where a lot of big comics will come and do that show. But it's so bizarre, the fact that it's a free show.
That is
people
crazy.
Get like loose and like will just talk and don't give a shit. And I'm like, whoa. And it's so fun to watch like these pro fucking veteran comics just destroy people because they're like, oh, it's a free show. Like, who cares? And then they'll just be like, oh, I care, motherfucker.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and that was the whole idea behind the studio. Like, I moved here and my podcast was still in its infancy, but I was like, no, we got to make it better. Make it better.
When you like treat things more seriously, you like
other people take it more seriously.
Exactly. So yeah, so that's kind of been my thing with everything that I've done in comedy is like, well, you could just make it better. Just do it better. So yeah, that's basically
the show took off.
And then, it took off. Yeah. It was in the perfect area. It was the perfect type of room. It was low ceilings, brick wall as the back. It just was really good.
Now, when you first started doing the show, are you barking people in, or how are you getting people there?
We started barking. The advertising was a little different. You just put it online, and it's different from here, where you really need to like promote things.
Well, yeah, because things in the market here is so oversaturated. Yeah, and back then it was one of those things where they hadn't realized.
It was like 7 years ago.
Yeah. But Facebook and Instagram, it wasn't like you would just promote stuff.
And people would come.
Yeah.
So, then we would bark people in.
Now it gets buried if you don't pay for it.
It was in Faneuil Hall. Okay. I don't know if you're familiar with Boston. It's basically like, I'd hate to say Times Square, but it's like the tourist spot of Boston. Everybody comes. It's not like as touristy, but it's just all the bars are there. It's the place to go.
It's a central hub,
Yeah. So it was right there. It was in the oldest restaurant in the country. Longest running. It's like 150 years old. Terrible restaurant. Yeah. But just perfect. Like people would come in to see it. Yeah. So you walk down these stairs.
I was going to ask, back room, down the basement. Okay. So
and then we had the whole bar. I'll show you a picture after the show. But it was great. We ran that for like 3 years. And then the bar shut down. They closed overnight.
The restaurant or just the bar?
The restaurant. It was like 5 floors. The building shut down.
Oh shit!
The next day, we got like a week's notice. We go out. I find a room like next door, which is in an upstairs. Just happened. The owner was there. I talked to him. He goes, yeah, I did a comedy show. I'm thinking about doing comedy here. And I go, perfect. Let's do it.
And did you have to use your poll? Like, hey, we started a show over there.
Yeah, I told him, I was like, hey, we ran it over there. That place is closing. We're looking for a new place. He goes, okay.
Damn.
And we ran it there, and that was the White Bull up in Boston.
Okay. So how long were you in Boston before you how long?
I was there
in New York?
5 years in Boston, and I ran the shows for 4. Okay. And then I moved here January 2020.
Okay.
And
January 2020.
Lived with my brother 3 months, Long Island City. We're having a great time. Yeah. World shuts down. I had a great pandemic. I don't know about anybody else. Oh, yeah, dude. I was like, my parents.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Oh, yeah, dude. My family lives on Long Island, so I was just back and forth, hanging out. Like, there was a point where I was just playing ping pong in the back. It was like Wednesday at like 10 a.m. And I'm like, I text my brother. He lives behind my parents' house. Yeah. His house is right there. So I was like, what are you doing? He's like, nothing. I was like, meet me in the backyard. Let's play ping pong. Dude, it's like noon. We're just playing ping pong, having a couple White Claws, swimming in the pool. And I was
that is the one thing that was
pretty great.
Super frustrating. Not frustrating. The frustrating is the wrong word. I don't want people to misinterpret it. But the one thing that I I kind of just romanticized about the pandemic was
Yeah.
I was like, God, if I was still drinking,
Oh, yeah.
like getting that unemployment, not having to worry about going to work. Because in Florida, we were only off for like 3 months. But still,
Yeah.
it was like one of those things where it was like, God, that would have been fucking just 3 months of just watching fucking The West Wing doing shots every day.
It
like
was
just
pretty
getting
nice.
hammered.
I didn't drink. I don't know what this says about me as a person, but I became like my best self during the pandemic.
Did you really?
Yeah, I stopped really drinking. I like just wasn't drinking a lot,
Yeah.
Not now, ex-drinking buddy, current drinking buddy
Hell
is
yeah.
me. My drinking tolerance is probably the highest it's been right now.
Well, let's get into it. I want to
It's
talk about it.
wild.
When did you first start drinking? Was this high school?
I was
Were
late.
you-
I was
Okay.
late. I started drinking senior year, like
Me too.
summer, like going into college.
Okay, yeah, I
You
started
know?
drinking after the football season my senior year, so probably like the
I think it
beginning
was
of-
we won the state. I went to Catholic high school, Long Island, St. Anthony's. We won the Catholic
shit.
league state
Yeah.
championship. So it was like after that, I drank a little bit on that night,
Yeah.
and then a little bit throughout senior year, mostly summer going into
So when you get to
college.
college, are you drinking like crazy, or are you focused on like?
Oh yeah,
You
yeah.
need- okay,
I was
so-
like right in. I was around drinking. I just never
Yeah,
I was a big rule follower. You
Yeah,
know, I
me
was
too.
always
I
like,
was straight edge through most of high school. Like I went.
Yeah.
I also didn't have a lot of friends. Like I say this all the time, but my siblings were far more popular than I was.
Yeah.
So like. They would have house parties if my parents went out of town, or like they would go to their friend's house. to
Younger or
parties. Twin and then 2 older.
Okay.
And so, but every one of them was far more popular than I was. And
Mhm.
I remember I was such a fucking nerd, dude. I'd be like, you guys can't drink. Like bad things happen when you drink. And they're like, shut up, nerd.
It's like you knew. It's
Yeah.
like you knew it was coming.
And then it's I do a bit on stage, but I remember when I was like 13, I was at a family thing, and I remember my dad was like, or like someone was giving a toast, and I was like, I don't want to toast. You're all a bunch of alcoholics. And then fast forward 20 years, I'm the
Yeah.
one who goes to meetings and can't drink anymore. Now my dad's like, hey, Brennan, remember that? And I'm like, yeah.
It's bad luck, dude. You
Yeah.
should have toasted.
I
You
jinxed
should have
myself.
toasted. Yeah.
So when you get to college, do you know you're going to law school right when you get there?
No
Okay,
way,
yeah,
dude.
nobody knows.
I went to law school because I was an English major, and then I was just like, well,
Yeah, political science.
dude, you know what though? I think about this in my life a lot, and this sounds like very probably privilegey and stuff. Things just work out. Things just always work out, dude. There's never been, things just happen and they work out. I remember I applied for a job to work an internship at Enterprise Rental Car.
When was this? In
This
college?
was going into my senior year in college.
Okay.
Right? Didn't get it, which is so embarrassing, dude. Now I go, Jesus Christ. I was a good student, but I just like didn't get a job to rent cars unpaid, like to work in an office and get people coffee. Didn't get it. I worked for my uncle's landscaping company that whole summer.
Yeah, you fucking
which
did.
was great, dude. I loved it. Long
Outside,
Island.
getting ripped, tan.
Oh yeah, Long Island, working at these just multi-million-dollar homes in their backyards, watching their like hot housewives like walk around.
Yeah.
And I remember in that moment, I go, "Fuck this!" I go, "I am never doing this again."
Oh, really?
I was like, and that moment, I was like, "I'm going to law school."
Oh, shit.
And and I took the LSATs that fall, and I started, I took a course and all that shit, and then and then got in.
Yeah.
I remember I had just, because I was playing rugby, I had just like hurt my leg.
Yeah.
And I remember going into that summer, going into senior year, I went on all these interviews with like a full leg brace.
That's what I
and
want to
shit.
talk about. Yeah.
So
why did
that
you-
kind of connects.
How did you pick up rugby?
I started freshman year.
Okay.
I was a football player in high school.
Yeah.
So rugby attracts football players and soccer players.
Yeah.
So if you're not good enough to play at the like D1 level, you just play rugby.
Yeah, play club, yeah.
And it's great. It's
I did
so
both.
fun.
I went to FAU for football on a partial scholarship, but then I was playing rugby in the off season to stay in shape.
Oh shit.
And then when
I didn't know that.
When my coaches found out, they were pissed.
Yeah, dude, rugby fucks you up.
They were like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?"
We need that type of mentality on this team.
Hey. But yeah, so shout out Tobin Thompson. He was a few years older than me, but we went to high school together. And dude, that guy was an animal. When he played linebacker, middle linebacker, and he used to always walk around the locker room and be like, "What fucking kind of dog are you?" Fucking psycho in high school. He's grown and he's become a very mature, outstanding citizen of society. But back in the day, we were all scared of Tobin Thompson. And then I probably shouldn't have said his full name. Whatever. He's a big listener. Shout out. What's up, Tobin? And then I remember when I got to FAU, he had been there for a few years, and I had no idea. And we ran into each other, and he was doing club rugby, and I was like, that checks out. That totally checks out.
Dude, people who play rugby after college, I'm like, are you a lunatic? Are you crazy?
Well,
You're an adult.
I grew up in Daytona, which had like the best rugby team in the state of Florida for a long. This is where like Perry Baker's from and all that shit. Yeah. So like rugby's a big deal. Like
we were big on the Siena rugby team was a big drinking team that liked to play rugby. About it. You know, that's what we were.
How did you break your leg?
That was my junior year. We played. I lost like a bunch of weight. Going into my junior year, which was great, and I became like a fucking athlete. I always say that like I am an athlete with like 30 extra pounds. You know, like I pick things up. Like I can fucking juggle. I'm good.
Hand-eye coordination.
Like I can pick up golf and just fucking do it. I play once a year. I break 100. You know, like.
I say it all the time. Natural athlete.
Ski, yes, natural athlete.
Dude, I get on the ice and like ice skates. Yeah. It takes me like one lap, and then I'm like, oh, we're going now.
Rollerblade, skateboard. I can do it
the whole
all.
thing. Yeah.
Just like good enough. Yeah. You know.
To where you could be around people and they'd be like, oh, have you been doing this for a while?
Like lacrosse. I remember like picking up lacrosse by myself like in high school, and I
did the same. What's
good
wrong
enough
with us?
To like try out.
Yeah.
But I was still like just fat and slow as shit, and I did not make the team.
Natural athlete with 30 extra pounds, baby. Love it.
Know?
So were you still trying to like play the old style when you were bigger? Like how did you break your leg?
So I lost some weight, and I used to play prop, and then I lost a good amount of weight, so I moved to flanker.
Yeah.
But I still had like some of the best hands on the team in terms of throwing and catching at this point when I was a junior, and now it was faster. So my buddy used to play scrum half, which is like the quarterback of, if for anyone who doesn't know.
For the uninitiated.
Yeah. And we had this big spring tournament, and I was like, Coach, I was playing it in practice a little bit, like fucking around, and I was like, let me play scrum half. Come on. And my buddy is the scrum half, but I was straight up. I was like, I'm better than him. Come on, dude. I'm fucking bigger. I'm faster now.
You think you're better than me?
And I got better hands. Come on, let me play. So literally, he's like, all right, Dylan, go. It's like the third game of the tournament. You know, we're already eliminated. This is like a consolation game.
Yeah.
I go in. I'm literally in for like 5 minutes, you know, but I'm still having fun. You know, I'm playing, I'm getting used to it now. Game speed. Ruck happens. We get possession of the ball. I put my leg in, to rake the ball out. And I got my foot like on the ball. I look back, I check, is my back line set up? Yeah. I look at the ball. I check my line one more time as I am going to go down and pick up the ball and throw it out. As I'm looking back, I feel the ruck blow up and my heel gets stuck in the grass, and I just hear crack, 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 crack. And I just go down, and I was like, I thought I shattered my leg in half.
Yeah.
Luckily, dude, my knee just literally bent 90 degrees the other way.
So it was the tendons and everything?
I thought ACL. I ended up getting ahead of ourselves, but nothing was broken at that time. It literally just bent my knee the opposite way, and I tore my MCL, which is the one interior, which is the only one that you don't need surgery on if you don't completely tear it. So, and then I broke the tibial plateau, which is
where it connects,
plate that sits between the force.
So it just snapped that.
Yeah, just cracked it in half. So I had to walk around with a brace for
So you're
6 months of 4 months of my junior year. And then...
So are you still partying and stuff with the brace?
Oh, yeah. So, dude, this happens. We're 4 hours away from the school, okay? We're up even further upstate.
Yeah.
And my coach is like, all right, so I can take you to the hospital right now. We're almost done with the tournament. Or we can ride the bus back.
Are you really going to make everyone fucking wait here for you?
So, dude, I was like... I was like, now I feel like the anxiety in me, I would be like, we got to go right now.
Yeah.
But then I was just like, no, I'll just wait. So I start drinking beers on the bus, dude. My knee is like, you know.
So what are you doing in the moment? Like just trying not to move it? Does it hurt like a fucking bitch or like what?
It was killing me, dude. And then I took like some like not painkillers, but like Advil, basically.
Oh, okay.
And then I start slugging beers,
Yeah, there you
and we take the 2-3 hour bus ride back. And I'm calling my girlfriend at the time, and she's like, "Okay, I'm gonna meet you when the bus pulls up. We're gonna go to the hospital." I was like, "All right, I'll see you in an hour,
hours,
whatever." So we get back, and at this point, the bus ride back from a rugby trip is great.
Yeah.
Because everybody's just slamming beers.
What do you win or lose? Everyone's like, we don't fucking care.
So we pull up to the school. It's already like 7:30, 8 o'clock, whatever. I'm already like 10 beers in. Okay. And now I'm not going to go to the hospital and miss the rest of the party.
You're having a party.
So my girlfriend's there, and she's like, all right, I got the car. Let's get you in. She had like crutches for me.
Aww.
And I was like, oh, that's so nice. And I go, thank you so much, but I'm not going to the hospital. And she was like, what? I go, no. I'll just go tomorrow, dude.
You're like Leo DiCaprio on The Wolf of Wall Street. I'm not fucking leaving.
Yeah, dude. I'm not fucking leaving. So I ended up just like partying. She was so pissed. She was like, do not text me tonight. Do not call me. I'm not hanging out with you if you don't go to the hospital. And I was like, all right, fair. And I was like, I'll hang out with the boys.
Yeah.
So I just go.
Broken legs are for the boys.
Dude, I remember it started like, it was still like March up there. So it's still chance of snow. It started snowing at one point. So I'm just like limping around, and finally security, they were like driving around. They were like, hey, do you need crutches? And I was like, sure. So then I'm like slipping all around. Dude, it was so bad. So bad, dude. I go to sleep. I woke up the next morning now hungover. I pull my covers off. Dude, my knee is the size of a basketball.
Dude.
It was so big. And I literally called my girlfriend. I go, I think I fucked up. I think I messed up.
Was she there? Was she there for you? Was she like,
yeah.
Okay.
She goes, I'll come get you. Let's go to the hospital.
Yeah.
I remember because I called her after then. She's like, don't call me tonight. You're not staying over. And I was like, a couple hours later, I was like, hey, are you awake? And she's like, I told you not to call me. I was
But
like,
she picked up.
She did. Yeah.
Yeah, because I have...
That was a, and then I went and he was like, yeah, why? He goes, when did this happen? I go, yesterday afternoon.
28 hours ago.
He goes, why didn't you come to the hospital? I go, I didn't want to miss the party, dude.
What did he say?
He was like, what is wrong with you? My girlfriend's sitting there. She's like, I know, dude. I know. Dude, we used to have this thing. It was called the Pig. And then we had a guy on the team called the Pig Master.
Yeah.
Dude, when the team was created, we're talking like a piggy bank.
Yeah.
A plastic piggy bank. This is how disgusting rugby is, and traditions and everything. It was this huge thing. It used to hold, I think it was like 13 beers. And the slot, you would drink out of the mouth. And there was the foot had a hole cut in. And after every game, we would pass it around. It had never been washed. The team was started in 1973.
That's disgusting.
And after every time, you would run water through it. But it was never, no soap
clean,
had touched it. And I used to think it was the coolest thing, dude. You looked in, it was black with mold. Dude, the first time you drank out of it every year, you would get sick. You would get a cold. Yeah.
Rugby players, man, they're nuts.
I love that, dude.
Yeah. I mean, it was so much fun. I remember it was a blast. And then, like I said, going into my sophomore year, one of my running backs coach was like, are you your fucking mind? He's like, I know you're not going to probably ever play because it's D1 in South Florida.
Yeah.
He's like, you'll probably never play, but do you really want to risk not playing because you were playing rugby with your buddies?
Yeah, what a mess, dude.
And I was like, yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah.
Plus, there's more prestige that comes with playing football at a D1 school. But after I got my 8th concussion, I was like, maybe rugby was the smarter fucking choice, man. I'm going to die at 50 now.
Yeah, dude. You meet the craziest dudes. I remember there was this dude. I don't know if I should say him. Who cares? Hayner. He looked like.
Shouts out Hayner.
He looked like Sloth from the Goonies.
Hey, you guys.
Literally, he looked like him. Dude, the guy was insane. He was insane. And I remember we used to he was a senior when I was a freshman.
Yeah.
And I only had to play with him for a year. And then you forget. There was an alumni game every year. Dude, playing him like 4 years out of college when I'm
still
like
doing it?
21 and he was like 25. I was like, oh, this guy's got now like older man strength.
Yeah.
Holy
Grown
shit,
man
dude.
strength, yeah.
But some of my best tackles came in that alumni game.
Really?
There was a kid.
Did you light people up?
Dude, there was one, I remember this guy. He was a nice guy, always nice to me, but everybody hated him because he was a dick. He's dead now, I found out, which is crazy. I told the story like...
Don't be a fucking dick,
I
man.
told this story like 6 months ago, and I was like, what's this guy up to?
Yeah.
And I look it up, and it was like in memoriam Facebook, and I go, get the fuck out of here. Dude, he was always like juiced up, like big, like
that's how he died, actually.
Right in the wrist, dude. Always juiced up, and he used to. He came back for the alumni game.
See, I didn't see that coming when you
bodybuilder.
said when you said he was a nice guy to you.
Yeah.
I thought he was like some scrawny, like little kid.
No, so he was. But then he was kind of a dick because all the older guys of his year hated him. Hated that he played rugby, but he was big enough that he would get by.
Yeah,
and the coaches liked him. But dude, I remember we played him my junior year alumni game. I was like, fuck the alumni game. This sucks, dude. Mm-hmm. But now I'm a junior, so I'm like starting, and I was like, fuck, we got to play.
Yeah.
And I remember this guy gets the ball and he's running at me. And rugby is not a run him over sport.
No,
it's usually like it's not football. You got to like juke and move. You know?
Yeah.
So I remember
there's a lot of finesse to it.
Yeah, this guy's, I'm 5'9", 5'9.5". And this guy's, he's like 6'3", probably. Big dude.
Like
fucking solid. Like you.
Yeah.
Solid. But even
taller,
like, like.
Even more jacked.
Yeah, jacked.
And
up,
I'm
dude.
Like fucking
like
jacked.
bodybuilder jacked, dude. And I remember he gets the ball and he runs at me and I see him and it's only me to like save the try.
Yeah.
And
that's a touchdown.
Yeah. And he runs straight at me and I see him look at me and he's, instead of juking and running, he makes this, I read his eyes and he's like, I'm going to fucking run this bitch over.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, here it is, dude.
This is why we play the game.
Natural born athlete, dude. I get low and I literally just wrapped his knees, picked him up and just dropped him on his back. Dude, the crowd, all my boys.
The crowd goes wild.
It was nuts, dude. It was one of the most exciting moments of my athletic career. It was, dude, he got up. He was pissed. He tried to like swing at me.
Yeah.
And one of my buddies, Lurch, always has my back, jumped in and like fucking threw him away.
Yeah.
And, but I was like, it was a perfect form tackle. Perfect form tackle.
I remember
it didn't even hurt, you know?
Yeah. When you get it right. Yeah. I remember
it's like a cushion.
My best moment came in practice. It was my freshman year, and it was just at FAU. And I remember we ran a play 236 power O, which is where we ran a pro style offense. We ran a lot of like dives and power O and stuff like that. And 236 is where we fake the power O, and then normally, because I block as the fullback, but on 236 I fake block and then I go out to the flat, and I will never forget fake the block, just barely like touch the defensive end. And he's like, oh, I got around Brennan. He's a little bitch. And I come out in the flats and I catch the ball. And this is practice. Like nobody gives a shit. It's practice. But then I turn up the field and I was like, oh, everyone bit on the play act. Like there's no one around me.
Great.
And just fucking sprinted down the field. And I'll never forget. Shout out to Darian Thomas. I was inches from the goal line and I was like, don't jump out. Like, don't look like a fucking asshole. So I was just like, oh, I'll just run into it. And Darian was fat. He's a corner, but he's fast as shit. Came flying at me.
White guy?
No. And right before I get to the goal line, just smashes me. Yeah. And I didn't score.
What an asshole.
But that was like
That's so funny.
Every
dude.
Saturday or every Sunday we would have the toilet bowl scrimmage. So all the starters would play in the game on Saturday, and then the next day, everyone who did not play at least like 15 snaps in the game would do like a scrimmage.
Yeah.
And I remember that's where it happened. I wore the same socks to every toilet bowl moving forward because I was like, these are my lucky socks, man.
Dude, I did the same. I would always wear in high school, I got a Scout Team Player of the Week t-shirt.
Yeah.
One of the weeks, which was big honor,
Huge.
Played for a good high school. Never started, obviously. Yeah. I wore that all during rugby. I still have it. It's got holes in it. It's got blood on it.
I've got the 2007 Sunbelt Championship shirts that they gave us before the bowl game or after the bowl game, and I still wear that fucking all. It's like torn apart. And I'm like, I kind of don't want to wear it anymore because I'm like, I kind of want to put this in a frame or something.
Yeah.
So I want to talk to you about. So you drink all through college doing rugby, and then when you get to law school, this is a big common thing in law school that I hear about. Did you go like nuts with the stress and like just getting hammered all? Because it's like work hard, play hard kind of a thing in law school. Was that your path that you found?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, I took law school very seriously, especially in the beginning, that first year.
Yeah, because you're coming from that landscape thing where you're like, I don't want to fucking do this.
Yeah, and it was like the first year, like I've always been able to just get by. Like I said, everything works out, you know? I've always just been able to get by, like without studying, without really working that hard. I've always been like a 90s, low 90s student kind of thing. And then I remember thinking like,
so mad
fuck, if I just tried, dude, I could have been 4.0.
I remember I barely got through high school, but I didn't do anything. Like I was for a very long time, I was a really good test taker. So as long as I showed up to class and like took a couple notes, I would just
I never
crush
studied.
tests.
I never studied,
but that's what I'm saying is like as long as I showed up and took notes during class, I would never have to look at them again. And then we'd go sit down and I'd crush tests. So I'd get like high B's, low A's on tests, no studying, just to, like I said, taking notes during class. But then I would do no homework. So I ended up with like C's because I was like, I'm not doing fucking busy work. And then when I got into college when I went there was built for that because it's 2 midterms and a paper.
Yeah.
So I was like, or it's a midterm, a final, and a paper. So I was like, oh, there's not like bullshit busy work.
Yeah.
Dude, the first 2 years until my alcoholism and drug addiction got real bad, I fucking murdered college. I was like, this was built for me. So when
that was a big, I'm a big wait till the last minute. Yeah. Every paper I wrote in college was written.
Found Adderall in college, and I was like, dude, I can wait till 8 hours before it's due and finish this.
I was a big, it's due Wednesday at 10 a.m. I was like, we're starting.
The time was
8 p.m. on Tuesday night.
The time was a huge thing because they'd be like, oh, it's due at 11:59 on Wednesday. And I go, oh, I don't even need to start this till noon.
Yeah. It was bad, and I would stay up all night.
Did you do any supplements to stay up? Like, were you doing Adderall or cocaine
no,
or anything?
I didn't even know about Adderall. My brother had like just gotten on Adderall, and but I wasn't. I remember I took it once to like study for the to take a practice LSAT. Yeah, and I was like, I don't like this.
Oh, okay,
it's not working.
So
me.
What were you doing to stay up? Like right in the page, just
coffee, soda, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Okay,
get like a Mountain Dew, like in the middle.
Code Red Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
I'm a spider monkey.
Whatever. I was like, I need some caffeine.
Yeah, let's do it. So then you get to law school, and then you're obviously natural athlete. It just comes to you naturally.
Athlete.
So what's that first year like in law school? Are you buckled down?
It's great. It's horrible, but it's great at the same time. Yeah. It's you learn how to study, right? It is also the place where I found out all lawyers do cocaine. I had no idea, how many just do cocaine, law school, and then lawyers. And I was like, well, interesting. Makes sense. And but you work so hard during the week that once like Friday, Saturday hit, you just get crazy. Yeah. Crazy. I remember the first time I also like, I went straight from undergrad to law school, which a lot of people do, but also not a lot of people do.
I took a semester off thinking it was like, I was like, oh, I'll take a semester off, turned into a year, turned into like, oh, I'm not going to law school.
I kind of knew that. If I took any time off, I wouldn't go.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people who have that college mindset still. So I remember my roommates, it was one of their birthdays. This is my first year of law school, right? So college, if it's one of your roommates' birthdays, it's like, fuck, this place is going to be awesome. Yeah. This weekend's going to be sick. I'm getting out of class right away. So I left the library early. And like I get home at like 5 o'clock, which is like early, and I'm waiting for everybody. I start drinking. I start making myself martinis.
Because you're a fucking lawyer now.
I'm a fucking lawyer. So I'm sitting in my North End apartment above, which I'll tell you that was there was a club called the Gemini Club below my apartment.
Yeah.
It got raided by the police. It was the last stronghold for like the Boston Mafia.
Holy
the
shit.
Last dudes. I remember I met the dude so many times. He was so nice. It looked like Tony Soprano.
Because he murders people.
How your parents? How your parents doing? I was like, they're good.
All right.
Tell them I said hello. Met my dad once moving in. Hey, we'll take care of your son up there. I will say it was nice. No homeless in the North End. No vagrants.
No. Are you kidding me? They chop those people up and send them.
They send them to the.
They put them in the
But yeah, start making martinis.
Doing martinis alone.
Having and I'm like, no, this is nice. You're drinking them.
What's the martini choice?
Vodka. I don't even remember. Dirty martini. Okay. So they basically eventually just turn into I'm drinking a glass of vodka with olive juice in it.
It's so funny when people try to be fancy, like at the restaurant. They'll be like martini, and I go vodka or gin, and they go vodka. I go, okay, do you want to do it with a twist, olives, dirty, straight up? Like, how do you want it? And
Extra dirty.
Well, no, a lot of times they'll just go, oh, just straight up, no fruit. So nothing in it. And I go, oh, you just want a chilled glass of vodka. That's where you're getting. Like, what?
Ugh.
I'm confused.
It's gross.
Yeah.
I can't do it anymore.
I mean, that's what, when I was real big into drinking, that's what I would do is just do shots.
Yeah.
I would get a water bottle filled like halfway with water, and then I'd put Gatorade powder in it. You got to stay hydrated.
Of course.
And then I'd put the other half would be vodka, and then I would do shots of vodka and use that as a chaser.
Yeah.
But I'm a full-blown raging alcoholic. So when people come into the restaurant, it's like, you just put it, you're doing what I did. You just put it in a different glass, asshole.
Yeah. But yeah, I remember 3 hours later, I'm sitting there by myself,
still not
3
there?
hours. They eventually come back and I was like, where the hell have you guys been? They were like, the library. And I was like, fuck, dude, now I'm like wasted. We go out at
You
like,
still went?
yeah, dude, it was one of those ones. I had like 5 martinis at this point that are just straight vodka.
Yeah.
You know, it's like 10 shots of vodka.
Yeah, because it's like
by myself.
It's bigger than a shot. It's
Drinking
way bigger
alone.
than a shots, yeah.
I get in the cab. It was before Uber, so it was like cab. We drive out. We go to this club for my roommate's birthday. They get out. I've already got the spins. All right.
No.
I'm already
No.
spinning in the cab. Dude, I go, everybody gets out. I go, hey, take me back to where you just took me. I go home. Dude, I just start throwing up in the bed. It was horrible, man. Horrible.
That's the worst is when, so I drink a lot, and the worst thing that ever happened, because I'll throw up, drop of a hat.
Yeah.
I don't mind throwing up. The spins.
Yeah,
Because
spins
you
get me.
can't get rid of it. Like, it's just like, I don't, like, you lay down, and there were times I remember when I had alcohol poisoning and stuff where I was like, I cannot move my body, because the second I move a little bit, my fucking head would start spinning again. And those,
Is that a sign of alcohol poisoning?
the spin, I'm not sure if it's a sign of it. I just know that, like, I would have to drink that much to get the, because I could do a lot. Like,
Because I get the spins.
do you get them easy?
Not easy. I got to have like, if I have like 13 White Claws, I'll get the spins.
Yeah. See, that's the thing is
14.
thinking back to my drinking career, I didn't get the spins as often as I think other people did.
Yeah.
But when I got them, I was done.
Yeah.
And there was very little that could take me out. Like, I would just throw up, puke, and rally. I would fucking do coke. I would like do anything to get going again. But if I got the spins, I was like, I'm out because I can't stand up. You can't walk. Like, you can't do anything.
Yeah.
You just constantly feel like you're going to throw up. Like you're on a fucking.
It's the worst. I hate it so much. The only thing that they say throw your leg over the side of the bed.
Yeah, that's what they say.
But I don't know.
way.
That just never works for me either.
No, I have no idea.
I just fight through it.
The
and
worst
I go,
is
I'll
falling
fall
asleep with the spins.
Oh.
Because then I have nightmares that I'm in a plane like spiraling out of control.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Oh, no. My thing is fight through it, fall asleep, and you'll be good.
Okay. No, I mean, that makes sense. I wanted to ask you, so we have a little bit of time.
All right.
We can probably do both, but if you had to pick one, do you want to talk about the subway bully or the drunk
Oh, I'll
peeing?
tell you that one. So this is a quick one,
Okay,
but
then we might be able to get
so,
both.
dude, and it's not really drinking, but I've been saying this, dude. Nothing in New York City. It's like kids are the scariest kids in New York City, and nobody is meaner than like a young black kid. Nobody cuts to your soul more than a kid that just like they
Do
just
you have that a lot?
he
here
can
in
just
this
see your insecurities.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude. So a couple months ago, I was on the train, and it's like 11 o'clock at night. And I get off the train at my stop, and there's a group of kids, like, 12, 13, 14-year-old kids hanging out in the train. And they're just like, making noise, whatever. And they're having fun. And I got my backpack on, right? So it's kind of like pulling my shirt kind of tight. And I walk by the train door, and this kid goes, "Hey, man." And I look at him, and I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Y'all better take care of them titties." And I was like, get the fuck. I was like, dude, his friends are going crazy. They're laughing. And he's like, yeah, fuck you. The door's closed. The train just leaves. And I was like, this is a fucking nightmare, dude. I thought about that for a week and a half.
Dude, I still think about it to this day. I left the laundromat. Same kind of thing. Group of kids after school.
So mean, dude.
Just going crazy. But I remember I have my headphones in.
Yeah.
A lot of times I don't listen to anything. You just put them in so people will so if you ignore people, you don't seem rude because you're like, oh, I didn't hear you. So I have my headphones in, and same group of kids, probably the same kids.
Same kids.
But this is when I used to live in Midtown with my ex, and we had to go to a laundromat. So I'm leaving the laundromat, and I've got all my laundry, and it's like 3 subway stops away. So I'm walking to the train, and I hear one of these kids. I hear the kid turn to the other guy and go, "Hey man, what about him? You think you could take him in a fight?" And I'm just walking, headphones in, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to fucking I'm gonna have to murder some 12-year-olds. And then the other one goes, nah, man, he looks like one of them crazy ass white boys. And I was like, respect.
That's when you turn around and you go, God damn right.
But I just kept walking, and I was like, this could turn really bad. You know,
Oh, that's so funny.
local at 6, local comedian slays 4 African Americans. I'm like, I don't want this.
Dude, Ray just told me a story about these 2 kids that were, slapped him on the head when they were riding his bike. And he's like, dude, and he was like, what the fuck was that? And they were like, yeah, keep walking, fat boy. And he was like, my thing is to just be embarrassed and be like, wow, I gotta go to the gym. But his was like, I'm gonna fucking chase these motherfuckers down and beat the shit out of them.
Murder you.
It's like, yeah, right. You're gonna end up on the news.
Yeah.
And that doesn't look good.
No.
But yeah, the other one, are you a big peer?
Yeah.
When you drink? When you were drinking?
Yeah.
I
would
was.
pee myself all the time.
I never was, but last summer I had like a string, dude, where like
a string
of peeing incidents. The one I it's my niece's baptism. I got the drunkest that I've ever
gotten. How did this
gotten.
even happen?
This was, we were at an event. We were at like the party, and we're drinking whiskey all.
So take me through this, because I have 2 nieces, but I've never been to like we go to their birthday party. Excuse me, but I've been sober most of their lives.
Yeah.
So for you, it's like, all right, so-and-so's getting baptized, and you're like, fucking load it up. Let's go, Long Island City.
So my family likes to drink, and then my sister-in-law's family they're all Polish.
Yeah.
And most of them are from Poland and
so
have
you know what
moved
that
here.
means.
And they love to drink. They love to party, which is the best, right? So any family event is a fucking party. You know? So we like go to this like a hall. It's like a back room in a bar.
Okay.
Well, you go to the church, and then you go to the bar.
Got it. So are you drinking during the church service?
No. But then you have
first of all, don't get so. It's not uncouth. Jesus turned water into wine. Okay.
Yeah, he's a drinker.
He liked to party. So don't.
The Lord is a drinker.
I reject your immediate. No.
Dude. So, maybe a little sip or 2,
So you go to the hall afterwards.
So we're going to like a back room of a bar. We have a thing. So I'm drinking whiskey like all day. I'm having bourbon, little shots of bourbon. So I'm already getting drunk, And
are you pulling it from a flask, or are you just like
no?
doing
It's
shots?
like open bar,
Okay.
just on ice.
Yeah.
I like a Maker's on the rocks.
There you go.
That's my drink. And
you should try Templeton. That's really good on the rocks.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Okay. Well, I stopped drinking beer a while ago, so now I just drink like seltzers.
Can
and
I be honest with you about something?
Yeah.
I was never a beer or wine guy.
I do like wine. I like a red wine.
I'm
I like
a huge
whiskey.
liquor guy.
Yeah.
Kinane has an awesome joke about it, and I won't butcher it, but it's basically like, why would you like take the slow lane on the interstate when you can take a spaceship to get to where you want to go?
It's true.
Yeah.
But when I first started drinking liquor and I stopped drinking beer, I was like, oh, I was drinking, tequila sodas like they were Bud Lights.
Yeah.
And I kept waking up and I was like, why
What
am I
happened?
so hungover? Why did I black out? I only had 8 tequila sodas. It's like 8 Bud Lights. I wouldn't even be drunk.
I loved liquor versus beer, because beer, I had bad experiences like in high school. Like I remember one time we played Circle of Death, and we had the waterfall. I don't know if you it's a drinking game with cards, but we did the waterfall, and I was the last one. And I remember I chugged the whole beer, and I was like, easy, because Natty Light's like drinking water, and I was like, easy. And then I went to burp and just everywhere. And I was like, oh, I don't like this beer thing. And I think a lot of it has to do, the first time I got drunk was on 99 Bananas. And I was like, oh, I did 2 of these and I feel great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're drinking all day. We're drinking
all day. And then everybody's there. We end up going back to my brother and sister-in-law's house. I was like, after party at their house. So
is this the one behind your parents' house?
Parents' house. So like they all come back, and some like my brothers and my friends are there, right? And we're hanging out, and my cousin and his fiance and also a family friend of ours went to Siena also. Yeah. So same college. So we're all kind of like connected on that. And there's this game that my buddy invented with his friends. It's so dumb. It's this song. And every time the song comes on, once you're in the game, you're in for life. Yeah. Once the song comes on, I'm not going to tell you what it is. Okay. You got to crack an open beer and finish it by the time the song stops playing. So
how long is the song?
It's like 3.5 minutes.
Is it a song that we all know?
Probably not.
Okay.
But it's
Who sings
so serious to the point where like if you're in the game, you carry like an unopened beer with you at all times.
Do you have one on you right now?
I don't, which is why I'm not going to tell you a song. But
that's true commitment, though. You're like, I would rather not tell you the song.
Yeah.
Because if I told you and you were like joking around but played it, I would have to go get a beer.
yeah, so like I got invited into the game that night. So we we end up playing the song like 5 times. So I'm already like 6, 7
And you're already
whiskeys
drunk,
in.
yeah.
And now I'm like, 7 White Claws in because I'm drinking
We're in
the White
double
Claws.
digits, yeah.
Dude, I end up falling asleep on the couch at my brother's house.
Wow.
I woke up peeing in the corner of my like niece's bedroom.
No!
It was horrible, dude.
No!
Dude, I like woke up, dude, and my brother, I woke up. So it's not
Yeah.
like I was blackout. I was sleeping and like, you dream.
Yeah.
And like, you're like,
You
oh,
think
I'm
you're in
peeing.
a bathroom? Yeah.
I literally like picked a pillow up on the chair as if it was like the toilet seat and just pissed everywhere.
Was anyone in there when you woke up?
I mean, my nieces were sleeping.
Dylan!
So bad. Dude, I woke up in such a sober panic that I like took my shirt off. I started like mopping it up. And then I walk out. My brother he walks in the house. He goes, "What are you doing?" I go, "I don't know. I think I might have
So
accidentally."
did he know? Oh my God, he didn't know?
I go, "I think I might have accidentally peed on the floor in there." And he goes, I asked him the next day. He goes, "Oh yeah, I knew exactly what happened."
Oh my God. But he was cool about it?
Oh yeah. He goes, next day. Because then I texted him and I go, I was like, I gotta go home. I went home and he's like, I woke up horrified the next day, humiliated, hungover, like so hungover and humiliated. I got the anxiety,
That was
what
me
did
the
I
next
do?
day. The scar story. Yeah. When
And
I
my
woke
brother,
up the next morning, I was like,
the whole
fuck.
family comes to the house. Everybody's there. We're hanging out. And my brother,
Intervention.
I go to basically. I go into the next room and he goes, "Oh yeah, you peed on the floor last night." And I go, "Oh my, I'm so sorry." He goes, "Don't worry about it, dude." He goes, I threw it downstairs. I just wash it. No big deal. And I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." So then fast forward a couple months later, my sister-in-law never knew the story.
Yeah.
So
Brother covered
they
for
came
you.
to the show, and this ties into I know we got to wrap up, but
Yeah, you're good.
this my second pee incident was I met this girl after a comedy show. We hung out, hit it off. I ended up visiting her in Minnesota.
Jesus.
And a couple months later, and we still in touch, and I went out with her and her friends. This is the 3rd time meeting her.
Yeah.
And went out with her and her friends, and they're getting me so drunk. We're
When
drinking.
is this? This is, you said a couple months after the.
This is summer now.
Okay.
So it was like last spring,
The
maybe
baptism?
a year ago, and then like last summer.
Okay.
If I'm getting my timeline right. And
So you're just getting
we're
hammered.
drinking whiskey all night. They keep they're bartenders. Like 2 of the guys are bartenders. So they keep ordering shots from this bar. I'm getting so drunk, dude. And I could drink a lot.
Yeah.
And
Some would say you have a problem.
possibly. So, dude, I go and like we go to bed that night and we're going to the Minnesota State Fair the next day, which I wanted to be sober for. I was not. Dude, I woke up 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, whatever time, and I had pissed all over my underwear in this girl's bed that
no.
I had met. This is the 3rd time I'm meeting her. I just came out. This is the second
What
night I'm
happened?
staying there. Dude, thank God. What did I say earlier? Everything always works out. I fell asleep in my underwear on my back without any covers on me. Dude, I woke up and I had just peed enough where none of it touched the bed.
Get the fuck
It was
outta
only
here.
my underwear. I literally quickly got out of bed.
Are you kidding me?
I look, nothing is wet on the bed. I go into the bathroom. I rinse my underwear out. I throw it in my suitcase, all the way at the bottom, put on new underwear, go right back to bed.
Nobody knew.
Nobody knew.
Get out of here.
This girl comes to see me in New York 4 months ago.
Yeah.
And comes to a show. My brother and sister-in-law are at the show. I finally tell her the story about peeing her bed in Minnesota, and she's laughing so hard. And she's like, "Why didn't you say anything?" I go, "Because it's
That's
the 3rd time we
embarrassing,
met, and I'm horrified." So then then Lucas, my brother, tells her the story of me peeing in my niece's room.
Yeah.
So my sister-in-law was in the bathroom. She comes out, and an hour later, this girl goes, "Oh, well, Dylan just told me about the Minnesota peeing my bed, and then he told me about peeing in your house." And she was like, "What?"
What?
I was like, "Oh my God, dude!"
No.
Come on, no.
Was
so
your
then,
sister-in-law mad?
she was like, no, she wasn't.
Yeah.
She wasn't. Thank God. But it was horrifying, dude. I was so embarrassed.
That's a great way to leave it, man.
I was so embarraski.
Thank you for coming on, dude. Plug everything one more time.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
At Dylan Krasinski on Instagram, YouTube, DYLANKRASINSKI. And then, my podcast, Troublemakers, every Wednesday with comedian Ray Zawadny, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. If you can't find a podcast at this point,
go
I mean,
fuck
what
yourself.
the fuck are you doing? But yeah, dude, thank you for having me. That was
Dude,
super
this was
fun.
At Brennan T Comedy on all social media, BrennanTComedy.com. Check out the one-man show, Patreon.com/BrennanTassif. Thank you all so much for listening. We're back, baby. We're back at Gotham. Love it. And we'll talk to y'all next week.
Good night.
Good night. Dude, that was fun.
Dude, that was great.